Welcome to the Golfish Podcast. I'm your host, Amy Goodman. We're changing things up for the rest of spring and summer and moving the podcast to release every other week. As always, we will continue to bring you fascinating interviews with the people behind the players of the PGA, LPGA, Champions Tour, and beyond. Don't forget to rate or leave a review and tell us how we're doing.
We've all been feeling a bit overwhelmed recently. Between empty grocery shelves and the thought that the meat industry is running on a shortage, we could all use some good news. That's where this week's sponsor steps in. The Chef's Warehouse has been the trusted source of the world's greatest ingredients to top chefs across North America for 35 years. For the first time ever, they are making their chef-driven selection available to home chefs and delivering it straight to your door. Choose from the great selection of meat, seafood, cheese, and produce, and so much more. Visit their website at shop.chefswarehouse.com to shop like a chef. The Chef's Warehouse will be donating 10% of retail sales profits to their frontline furloughed employees and other impacted members of the food service industry. So this is your time to not only eat like a chef, but give back to the community.
This week we have Elliot Mellow from Bridgestone Golf. Elliot is the marketing manager of golf balls and messaging based outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Elliot introduces us to the new Tour B golf balls, Bridgestone's partnership with Tiger Woods, and their VFIT technology that allows you to be fitted for the best golf ball for you, even while we're social distancing. If you've wanted the inside scoop on the players that utilize Bridgestone, the vast amount of patents that Bridgestone holds, and what Elliot sees as the future, then this episode's for you. Let's get started. Hey, Elliot, Amy Goodman with the Golfish Podcast. How are you?
I'm well. How you doing, Amy?
Good. Very excited to chat with you today and learn about all things Bridgestone.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me 1 second. I'm going to switch you over to my headset here.
Yeah, take your time.
All right, perfect.
Oh, sounds much better. Perfect. Love it. So thank you so much for joining me today. I want to give a quick shout out to Jared. He has been so wonderful in some introductions and making it easy to chat with y'all. So very excited to, like I said, learn about Bridgestone and see what 2020 is looking like for y'all, because it's been a whirlwind already, but it sounds like there have been and are going to be some continued exciting developments for you in Bridgestone golf balls. Yeah,
we're excited about what the future holds for us. Obviously, we're kind of weathering the storm here and everything that's going on, and staying safe and making sure our people are safe. But business continues.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where are you based?
We're based in Covington, Georgia, which is about 45 minutes east of Atlanta as you head towards Augusta.
Okay, all right. It's not too far. We have a lot of family down there, so I'm sure we've driven through there from Atlanta to Augusta a time or two.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Elliot Mellow, and what do you do with Bridgestone Golf?
Yeah. So Elliot Mellow, I've been with Bridgestone 11 years now. Started off in our ball fitting program. We travel the country fitting consumers for golf balls, kind of the Pepsi Coke challenge, if you will, of golf. Hit your ball, hit the Bridgestone, see which one's better. And so I was in the ball fitting program for a while. I had the pleasure of leading the ball fitting program, and we had 35 guys around the country conducting those events. And in my current role, I'm in charge of golf balls. So anything from R&D to packaging to commercials. If it involves a golf ball in some way, shape, or form, I'm touching it, or I'm working with the folks who are leading up all those various projects.
And how did that transition come about? I mean, it's obviously a great promotion, an exciting time to be in charge of golf balls with everything that has been going on for you guys. So how did that all come about, and what has it been like transitioning from being kind of the front lines to over everything?
Yeah, so it's interesting. The obviously with the fitting background and kind of the understanding of the performance of the product, knowing the nuts and the bolts of golf ball, something I already kind of knew before I assumed this role, maybe 3 years ago now. Having a closer relationship with the R&D guys, being much more hands-on from a creative standpoint with the commercials, and assisting with the social media strategy, and a much broader focus than just working one-on-one with consumers from fitting. But it's fun because our products, they do what they say they're going to do. They allow golfers like yourself and the listeners to better enjoy their hobby, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And you all have gotten a lot of press this year because of your newest developments. And I was reading some articles. There's a really great article that you are quoted in from My Golf Spy that talks about your newest product that launched this year. Tell us about the new Tour B golf balls.
Yeah. So we launched the Tour B series, the new Tour B, in January at the PGA Merchandise Show. And to really understand the product, we actually have to go back in time a little bit to kind of set the table, if you will, because we do have a big innovation in terms of the performance and the construction of the new Tour B ball. So if we go back 20 years in time, year 2000, Tiger Woods and Bridgestone Golf teamed up and we made a golf ball. It was sold under a different name, but we teamed up with Tiger Woods to make kind of the pioneer of the urethane golf ball at the tour level, which was a cover breakthrough from Balata, much more high performance, more durable cover, better ball speed, better distance with that product relative to the competition. Tiger puts that ball in play. He goes on to win the Tiger Slam. Fast forward 20 years later, Bridgestone and Tiger was teamed up again for a true step change in terms of cover performance. We have a new cover that's called Reactive. And what Reactive does is it pushes the boundaries beyond traditional urethane. So with the traditional urethane balls that are on the market, the pro balls that are out there, if you will, you either can make the formulation where it's a little bit hotter for distance or it's a little bit softer for control. But from a design standpoint, there's give and take when working with urethane. So what Reactive does is it has a material called an impact modifier. And what the impact modifier does is it optimizes the compression time, or as Tiger likes to say, the face time of the shot, depending on the needs of the shot. So when we hit that ball violently with the driver, what do we want it to do? We want it to get off the face fast. And that's what the impact modifier does. Compresses quickly, jumps off the face, high ball speed, maximum distance. On the flip side of that, with the Reactive cover, on a more control shot, a short game shot, like a wedge or a scoring club, the face time is elongated. The ball stays on the face longer, so the loft and the grooves can bite in and impart more spin and better control on the short game shot. So it really pushes the boundaries at both ends of the spectrum in terms of what's possible from a performance standpoint.
So I read in that same article that you guys have, Bridgestone has over 800 golf ball patents. How many, and this is just kind of a random question, but just because I'm fascinated by this, because reading about these new golf balls, there have been so many changes to what expectations can be for pro golfers and recreational golfers and what to expect and how your ball is hit. I've read that you guys have over 800 golf patents. How many new patents did you guys create with this particular line?
Yes, that's a good question. So we're part of Bridgestone Tire and Rubber globally, right? So we're the largest producers of consumer rubber goods in the world. We've got over 900 polymer engineers, and specifically in the golf category, we've got 800 patents. And across the varying balls, the number of patents, they kind of differ depending on the exact specification of the golf ball. But the new patented Reactive cover, there are some patents around not only the actual material and the chemical structure of it, but then we have protections in terms of how it's manufactured, the machinery, et cetera. So when we bring folks out for a factory tour and we go through the entire facility, there's one machine that people aren't allowed to get a real close look at, and that's actually the machine that applies the cover. Because while we are protected, we still like to keep some things a secret.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Coke isn't giving out their recipes, so I think we all kind of understand.
Exactly. And, we're in the position of when you do file those patents, obviously you're publishing some of the secret sauce to a certain degree. And so that's why a lot of times, and with the breakthrough like Reactive, for example, it's not just one patent. There's numerous patents that kind of protect us on all sides of it, so to speak.
It's really interesting. as I listen to this, my husband is the more technical one when it comes to golf balls, golf clubs, everything like that. I'm more of the like, tell me a fun story. And I know you guys have worked a lot with Tiger, not just on these balls, but over the years. How important is a partnership like Tiger's, especially not just because of who Tiger is as a famous golfer, but really when you think about him as how insanely intelligent he is when it comes to this and how he can notice the smallest detail of a change in a club or a ball. How important is a partnership like that?
Yeah, great question. So, we've worked with Tiger for basically 20 years now, in varying capacities. And this new golf ball is by far the product he has been most hands-on in helping us design out of that entire run. It's been interesting because sometimes we have a technology that takes 6, 8, 10 years to come to market, quite honestly, that we're developing future state technology that won't be here for another 5 or 6 years. So that's kind of the innovation timeline, because you're creating the technology, you're trying to understand where the real world application is, and then you're also getting your manufacturing ready to actually produce that product. And so the reason I share all that is with Reactive and the new cover, Tiger really pushed us to bring this to market quickly because of how excited he was about the technology. So we started working with Tiger with the Reactive material in 2018, which is actually year 2 of Reactives. We did a lot of prototype and lab stuff. We got it in front of Tiger. And the first time he hit it, so this is we're halfway through prototyping, call it. There's still going to be 3 or 4 more rounds after that test. The first time he hit it, he was playing a different Bridgestone products at the time, and he says, we're out there with the blank white golf balls. He says, put some B logos on these. I want to play these at the U.S. Open next week, and that was back in 2018. So he's been chomping at the bit to get this ball in play. Quite honestly, his feedback and his feel exceeds what we're able to measure on a robot. Robot, we can measure performance, etc., but we can't hit the stinger. We can't hit the high cut necessarily the way that he does. And so his feedback and, kind of what he relates to us about the feel of the product is invaluable. And ultimately, he kind of pushed Reactive to the next level that it ultimately became at retail. But it's not just his Tour BXS. He'll hit shots and he'll say, all right, that one's out of my window, but that specification of ball could work for this type of player. And then ultimately we can use that feedback to kind of refine other balls that, even though he's not playing them, his input and his knowledge help design other specifications as well.
Yeah, you got a lot of press on this particular line of golf balls because the majority of other companies that are in the top 5 have 2 for consumers to choose from, where you guys have 4. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the X, XS, RXS, and is it the BX?
Yeah, Tour BX and Tour BXS, those are the firmer compression golf balls, or the traditional Tour spec, if you will. And so they're designed for faster swings over 105 miles an hour. Tour BX is played by like the DeChambeaus, the Matt Kuchar's of the world. It's more of a distance-oriented product. And then Tour BXS has the softer cover. That's the ball Tiger helped us design, and that's the ball that he plays. And then what we do is, that's a spinnier golf ball, by the way, the XS is. And then why we have the other 2 is 75% of golfers don't swing over 105 miles per hour. So if you think about that, 3 out of 4 people in the foursome don't swing fast enough to compress a Tour level golf ball. So we still make that pro spec, that over 105 spec for those guys that do. But at the same time, we want to service that other 75% of players. And that's why we have the Tour B RX, which is a distance-oriented golf ball, really straight golf ball off the tee as well. And then we have the RXS with a softer cover, more spin, more control on the short game. And we're really excited about the RX series this year, for the reason being that in the past, it kind of was exactly as I described it. It's a slower swinger, more of an amateur-driven product. But with Reactive, the greenside control has gotten to a level that it actually has Tour validation this year. So some of the earlier events in the season, and when Champions Tour returns later this year, Fred Couples, Rocco Mediator playing that golf ball competitively, the RXS.
So how hard is it to get a Champions player to switch switch products. Obviously, they've been playing longer, and a lot of these guys came from the PGA Tour to Champions Tour. Is it more challenging to take them something new?
It's a good question. So, we go and work with these guys, and like Rocco Mediate, he's a tinkerer by nature. So he always wants to see the newest, even if it's not going to work for him. At least wants to hit it and experiment with it, etc. And he's out there grinding for hours, playing it, putting it through the paces. And ultimately, we work with a guy like that in an R&D session, and then he goes out and he puts it in tournament conditions and kind of see how it's going to work, and if he's going to truly give it the green light to play. And then, so that's one end of the spectrum, very data driven, very in tune with the numbers. Fred Couples is more of a feel guy, he knows where the ball should be. It should be at this trajectory. It should be this distance. It should stop and spin as so when he impacts it. And so with Fred, it's interesting because we have data on Fred, but Fred doesn't necessarily see the numbers or want to see the numbers, if that makes sense. He's going to hit his shots, and then we've got some data on the back end that we can kind of check the boxes from our standpoint. And it's interesting because when Fred was making his switch, he was seeing good results on the course. We're confirming with the data that we have that this is the right move to be making. But ultimately, Fred ended up calling Tiger and saying, "Hey, Tiger, this is what they're telling me. This is what I'm seeing." And Tiger said, "Yeah, Fred, they're right. You can't play the same ball as me. You can't play the XS anymore." And so that was kind of the last checkbox for Fred to make the switch.
Okay. The reason I asked is we had Golf Pride golf grips on, and he was talking about how some of those guys, like, they still have some of the old school grips that are only made for those guys because they're like, we're just not switching. So I didn't know if you guys had people that were like, you had to make a certain amount of golf balls that are essentially out of production just to continue to have some of those partnerships with some of the guys. And it can be on PGA, it can be on Korn Ferry, it can be anywhere. But just kind of grew up with something and aren't quite ready to let it go.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly are ball manufacturers out there that kind of live in that prior gen balls available to tour player type world. But with our kind of our boutique staff, our limited number of players that we have, each and every one of those players is able to be so hands-on during the development and the prototyping phases that they're essentially building these golf balls for us. So by the time the new ball comes to market, they know it's going to be 7 yards longer, or it's going to be 300 RPMs more spin on the wedge, or whatever it might be. They know exactly what to expect, and they're excited to put it in play because they've been so hands-on with developing it.
What is it like working one-on-one with these players?
They're all just normal people. It's great working with them. They refer to us as the same way that we call them pro golfers. They refer to us as the pros when it comes to R&D. So they're very, very grateful for what we're able to do to help their games, and it's really a two-way partnership when we're talking to them. And it's gotten to the point now that the airlines were, well, before all this happened, but it was easy to get around. Everyone's got watch funders, so it's gotten to the point where we're typically going to see them as opposed to bringing them to Covington.
Oh, okay.
And so it really aids in the testing process because, we'll hit shots on the driving range to get started, for example, and we'll kind of get our baseline data. And then the guys don't want to jump out on a hole. And so they're jumping out to a hole. They're jumping out to 18 because they know how the wind direction is. They're going over to, they know the par 3 on the back, whatever hole it might be, that's a good yardage for them, et cetera. So it really allows us, by going to them, to really get them in a comfortable environment where they know what the ball should do with their normal ball, and so that they really have a good baseline to compare the new golf ball to. And it's a really fun process. As
they're coming out, or as you're coming out to see them, are they, like, is the player the only person you're interacting with with the golf ball, or do they also have maybe their swing coach or their caddy there that's talking through some of the things that they're seeing as the player is playing or testing this ball too?
It all depends on the situation.
Okay.
Some of them have a coach or a confidant who's a really good player that if the pro's hitting the shot, they ask the other guy to just kind of double check things if they see the same thing on a chip shot. And so there is some of that going on. Occasionally the coach is out there, and then there's other times where it's just the player in shorts and a t-shirt on the back of a driving range, and two guys from Bridgestone. So it really is all circumstances. But by and large, for the most part, all of these guys, they start with the golf ball. So, when we were getting into the new Tour B, for example, we started getting these guys into that golf ball, even though it didn't come to retail until February 14th. We were getting these players into that golf ball as far back as October of last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we really get them locked in on the ball. And then when they go to their driver company, their iron company, whoever they might have for their various equipment deals, the ball is locked. And then they build the clubs around what that ball does.
Okay. There was some press about Kuchar and Bryson playing this in Australia. Was that the first big event where Bridgestone was getting press over the newest golf ball?
That's a good question. So the first coverage we had came from when Bryson made a switch at the first event of the year in October. So the first event of the PGA Tour year in October, there was a little bit of pressure around Bryson making the switch. At that point, it was kind of speculative. This ball is probably coming to retail, but we hadn't told any media yet. So they were just kind of crafting their own story.
Yeah.
Once we started getting into President's Cup is when we kind of ramped things up, so to speak, from a behind the scenes PR standpoint. But President's Cup is kind of when the buzz for the ball started, and then through January leading up to the PGA show, and obviously all the great PR that we were able to receive, and so grateful that we got. But I certainly think President's Cup was kind of the catalyst for the Tour B launch for sure.
I think the President's Cup was so interesting this year because I feel like it got so much more press in general than a typical President's Cup does. So I think it's nice to see that there was some positivity and just some interesting change going on all over with that. And that we got to see it and experience it live and not just seeing highlights on like Sports Center or Golf Channel or something like a few hours later. Granted, I was the crazy person that was up in the middle of the night watching it. So I guess maybe it's a little different for me. I just didn't sleep for a few days.
Yeah. I think the prime time certainly helped. Tiger being the captain, it was it was kind of the year of Tiger, so to speak, last year. So coming off the Masters win and wanting to see what Tiger's going to do next. So I think all those factors certainly made it an exciting President's Cup. And the team events in general are fun, and they had a great team assembled over there for sure.
Yeah, they did. Did Tiger play the new ball at the President's Cup, or did he wait? What was his first tournament with it?
So the original plan was he was going to have it in at President's Cup. Like I said, he's been chomping at the bit for 2.5 years to play the ball. But that was his first time being captain, and it was, I think there was a little bit more duties involved than he originally thought, and put in going through the paces of getting the new ball ready and practice rounds and stuff was just going to be too much. So Tiger put it in play in January.
Okay.
Was the third week in January. Yep.
Who else is, you mentioned Freddie, you mentioned Rocco. Is this ball active now on the PGA Tours and like Korn Ferry or Symetra, or where all is the new ball being played, or the new set of balls being played?
Yeah, so Bryson, Cooch, Tiger on the PGA Tour. We got Lexi Thompson on the LPGA side. She plays Tour BX. Great, still 108 mile an hour swing speed, so she moves it and she plays the X ball for a little bit better distance. Then on PGA Tour Champions, we got Freddie and Rocco, both playing the RXS in yellow, actually. And then in any given week, we have a handful of players on the PGA Tour and other tours. But on the PGA Tour, we have a handful of players that play the golf ball, but they're not under contract, so we're not at liberty to disclose who they are.
Got it. Okay.
But occasionally, you saw like in Hawaii earlier in the year, Brendan Steele almost won that tournament with the Tour BX, and that kind of got leaked out by some media. But generally speaking, we kind of aren't able to publicize who those players are.
Got it. What you mentioned that Freddie and Rocco are playing a yellow ball. What is the significance of the yellow versus white, or really any color versus white?
Well, it's interesting because we'd asked Freddie for years if he would try something different, like a yellow ball, etc. And like you said earlier, to a certain degree, they're kind of creatures of habit about certain things. And the deal with the yellow ball is it's easier to see. It's much brighter.
Okay.
And so it's actually gotten to the point that these guys are requesting yellow prototypes instead of white prototypes because they're just so much more confident hitting the yellow ball, the larger ball. And it really is a visibility thing. The player can see it better. I know that I'm out there walking a tournament and I'm outside the ropes, inside the ropes. I can see the ball in flight better. Even when you're walking down the fairway and you got 3 balls from the group laying in the fairway, when you start getting 150 yards from that ball, the yellow ball is just glowing and large, and it's easy to identify. And I think that's why they've gravitated to it. But it's gotten to the point now that they almost can't go back to hitting the white ball mentally. They're just so comfortable with the yellow.
So as a rec golfer that loses golf balls, I should probably switch to yellow so I can actually find it. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I used to play when I first started playing. I played pink balls, so I get it. But it's funny.
Yeah, it's not that it matters, but I play. I switched to the yellow ball myself, actually, because I'm always playing with Bridgestone people, and I got tired of looking at which Bridgestone's mine. So I switched to the yellow one to make it easy, and it sure does make a difference when you're tracking it through the sky.
So what is your history in golf? Obviously, you've been with Bridgestone for 11 plus years. How did you get into golf? How did you kind of come into Bridgestone? What does that history look like for you?
Yeah, good question. So I used to open stores and kind of do club fitting and club building at Golf Galaxy when they were making their conquest of Florida years ago. So I was down in Florida bouncing around with them. And it was a fun experience, and the opportunity to come to Bridgestone came up, and so the rest is history, as they say. And so that's why I kind of started on the fitting side with Bridgestone, because that was kind of my bread and butter, so to speak, and just evolved here throughout my career. And it's been a fun ride, and it's a great organization to work for. We stand for high quality products, and I think I mentioned earlier, it's fun because we're a product focused company, and what our products do what we're going to say they're going to do. We're not a marketing company, a sales company. And that's funny to say coming from a marketing.
Yeah.
We're really a product driven company.
What do you anticipate the new launches for 2020 doing for Bridgestone Golf?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we had came out of the PGA show, momentum through the roof, seeing gains in terms of sell through, in terms of distribution. Some of those unpublished market share numbers from the big retailers were extremely strong. And I think the consumer sentiment and the demand is still there. As we start getting into the summer and these golf courses are opening up, indications that people still want to try Tour B, that Tour B is very strong. And, and we're excited for golf to be more open and played more frequently. And I think as golf balls are purchased, I think we're definitely part of that purchase decision based on the new reactive cover and some of the things we did early in the year to prepare ourselves.
You talked about something really interesting when you're talking about consumers purchasing these golf balls. You've talked about it in a couple of different places, but how do you help a recreational golfer not get caught up in, I want to play what Tiger plays, or I want to play what Bryson plays, or I want to be like Lexi, versus what is best for their game?
Yeah, we're all about fitting. And so that's why they have the over 105 miles, the under 105 miles. And that's the beauty of our portfolio is if you're a big Bryson guy and you want to play Bryson's ball, but you don't swing like Bryson plays the Tour BX, which is a distance ball for swing speed to over 105. We make that same exact golf ball for normal players that swing under 105, and it's called the RX. And the difference between the two is just compression. It's still a hot golf ball, a distance ball like Bryson's. It's just easier to compress at the slower swing speed. Same thing for the Tiger fan. Tour B XS, super high spin golf ball, highest spinning golf ball on the short game shot that there is out there. But if you're not swinging at 122 like Tiger, you swing like a mere mortal like me. That's where the RXS is lower compression, but you're not sacrificing any of that short game control.
And you guys have some really interesting things because obviously a lot of our country is just now starting to open up. It's the beginning of May. We're starting to see some things opening up, but you also have some technology out there that will allow people to submit their swing without needing to go in and getting fitted for a golf ball. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, this is if you called the Tour B launch priority 1A for the company, and this is priority 1B for the company for this year, and it's a technology called VFIT. It's a virtual video ball fitting, essentially. And so what VFIT does, it's as simple as recording a slow motion swing on your phone. You submit it to BridgestoneGolf.com, and then remotely we analyze that swing and we send it back to you with a ball fitting recommendation. And what we're able to do with our proprietary software with that slow motion swing, we can measure swing speed, ball velocity, launch angle, backspin, side spin, carry distance, total distance, all the data you get from the high-priced launch monitors, and we can do it within about 99% accuracy, 98% accuracy, I think is where we're at in terms of how consistent it is with the $20,000 machines. And we can do all that virtually, and then plus provide the ball fitting on top of that. And there's an expert technician on our side that's analyzing the data the same way that'd be analyzed if they're sitting on the driving range with you. And VFIT's really taken off for us, and it's proven to be kind of a game changer during everything that's going on because it's a quick and easy way for everyone to get fit.
So how do we find VFIT? Where do we go to do something like this? If someone wants to go out there and do that this weekend, where would they go?
Yeah, so all you have to do is in landscape mode. So turn your phone sideways, face on, record a drive being hit in slow motion, and then you submit it to BridgestoneGolf.com. So pull up BridgestoneGolf.com. At the top of the screen, there's a big red button that says Find My Ball. You click that. There's a video ball fitting link. There's a little tutorial video if you want to learn more of the nuts and the bolts behind it. You fill out about 7 questions, upload your video, submit your video to BridgestoneGolf.com, and then within 24 hours, we'll have a fitting recommendation back to you.
That's really fast. That's awesome. Takes a little bit less time than going somewhere and getting a fitting.
Yeah, it's quick. It's it can be done anywhere you can hit a golf ball. So it's been interesting. We've seen people on a driving range in a first tee submit videos. So we've seen people in their backyard. We saw a guy in his garage send us a video. A guy that was working in a factory set up a net and recorded his swing. So we've seen lots of people getting creative in terms of how and where they conduct their VFIT and keep fitting alive. Maybe when there's not as much access to stores and launch monitors as there was once. Yeah,
absolutely. Where do you see Bridgestone at the end of the year, 1, 3, 5 years out? What's your trajectory looking like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as we sit here today, we're the number 4 position in golf balls, and just a couple of years ago, we were the number 2 position with a fairly commanding spot at that number 2, and that's really what our goal is to get back to that 2 spot, whether it's later this year or the following year, whenever it might be. But that's really the goal, is to be in that number 2 position so that we can have a wide enough amount of distribution in terms of the facilities, the golf courses that carry our product, that any and everyone listening to this call has a high likelihood of when they walk into that shop, there's going to be a Bridgestone ball in there that fits their needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there has been a lot of press about the kind of shift from number 2 to number 3, 4, 5, and kind of who's kind of battling for 3, 4, 5. And I think the thing that's so interesting to me is that so many of the people that are giving feedback and their commentary on this is like, a lot of people don't seem to understand how it happened, because Bridgestone, just like you said, is so product focused and typically has from what I have read, has a better product. What do you equate that to? Is it just lack of consumer knowledge?
We lost our way for a little while. We lost our way in the form of fitting is our differentiator. So the ability for the consumer to get in the product that best suits them is our differentiator, because it creates consumer trial to begin with. And then if someone has a good experience with your product, they're more likely to come back and use it again. So I don't really think we didn't necessarily have a product or a technology issue. We've always made great golf balls. We just had an issue in terms of we prioritized some of the wrong things, and fitting became less important during a couple of years, and it cost us some market share for sure. And now that we have reactive and the new cover material plus VFIT and a revolutionary way to fit golf balls and really a fitting focus with the 4 new Tour Bs, it's already in the early stages here, a couple of months in, really showing that it resonates well with consumers as well as our retail partners.
That's incredible. Well, good. I'm very happy to see that the things are starting to turn around, and that it's like I said earlier, it is an exciting time for you to be at the helm and seeing everything that's going on and being able to have such a hands-on experience with the company and getting it out not only to pros but to consumers.
Yeah, it's a fun time. I'm privileged to be in this position, and I'm going to do it as long as they'll let me keep doing it.
Absolutely. Well, Elliot, it has been really great chatting with you and learning more about Bridgestone. I would love to play a quick 9 with you if you are ready.
I think so. Let's do it.
All right. What is your favorite golf memory?
Favorite golf memory? Probably the first Ryder Cup I went to, Valhalla, and the big crowds, and the U.S. won, and they hadn't won in a while. So that'll probably be the first one.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your ideal way to spend a weekend?
Ideal way to spend a weekend? I would say I live on a lake, so out on the boat and just relaxing and music going and cruising on the boat.
I like it. So the next one will, I probably know the answer to this, but I'll go ahead and ask it anyway. Are you a water skier or a snow skier?
I'd actually be a snow skier.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I grew up as a water skier, and my husband grew up as a snow skier. And so the first time that I went snow skiing, and let me preface this with the only time I have gone snow skiing, I was like, I don't understand why I have to buy all this expensive stuff to go down a hill and be cold. Like, I will never understand that sport, but okay, whatever it takes. And he loves it. His family loves it. And I'm like, leave me by the fire with like a glass of wine and a good book. I'll see y'all in a few hours. Like, that's my jam. What is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Let's do Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, that has been on so much during the quarantine. I swear it's like on TV like every week. And I feel like I haven't seen it in a while, so I guess I should probably catch back up on that one. Who would you like to play around with?
Who would I like to play around with? That's a great question. I like to play with my dad. He's been passed away for a couple of years, and it's been a while since we played, so I'll say Dad.
Oh, that's incredible. Would you prefer to watch TV or read a book?
Probably read a book.
Any good books you recommend?
I just reread Simon Sinek's Start With Why, which is a good
so good.
Get your mindset around
yes.
brainstorming and product development, etc.
He is an incredible author. I've seen him speak, and he is just like, he's mesmerizing. What was your first job?
My first job was at a shoe store. It was in a mall, and it was a shoe store, kind of like outdoor boots and sandals and that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. What is the tech tool in golf that you can't live without?
Tech tool in golf that I can't live without. I'm simple, so probably just my rangefinder.
Okay.
I could say the corporate answer and say Bridgestone's new defense, but on a personal level, it's a rangefinder.
And last question: what is your drink of choice?
It all depends on the mood, but a gin and tonic is just fine.
Oh, I'm with you on that one. I like it. Well, Elliot, like I said, it has been an absolute pleasure. We cannot wait to share this with our listeners. But where can we continue the conversation online to continue to see everything that Bridgestone will do in 2020 and beyond?
Yeah, so obviously BridgestoneGolf.com, Bridgestone Golf on social media. If you got anything you want to ask me, find me on Twitter. I'm @MellowGolf, and I'll be happy to interact.
Perfect. We love it. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
You as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks for joining me today. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the action. See you soon.